This morning, hospitals in Wuhan under-resourced and overwhelmed. People anxious about the mysterious virus that has triggered extraordinary measures across China to contain it. Hospitals appealing for supplies. State media reporting volunteers offering to help. With the number of infected people on the rise and no real end in sight. Health officials are working to pinpoint the source of the virus. Ground Zero, a market in Wuhan, where people could have eaten infected meat or fish. Authorities confirm the virus can be transmitted from human to human through coughing, sneezing, or other personal contact. At least 3 cities in China on total lockdown. Restrictions extended to 7 more. 33 million people affected. And already confirmed cases in at least 7 countries, including a man in Washington state who flew in from China last week. Around the world, airports on alert. Passengers screened for symptoms by workers in hazmat suits. While across China, anxiety over the virus is spreading rapidly on social media. Masks are selling out everywhere. Officials are racing to build a special hospital that could treat 1,000 virus patients. Construction slated to finish in just 6 days. In Beijing, festivities for the Lunar New Year canceled. Tourist attractions closed, including Shanghai Disney and sections of the iconic Great Wall. In Wuhan, the streets eerily empty. The normally busy train station deserted. The city locked down, isolated, and on edge. With so many people unable to leave and an unknown cost to the economy here, there's now growing anger with the government on how they've handled this. So the propaganda is ramping up, trying to strike a positive tone. But that's going to be a hard sell, with the World Health Organization expecting the numbers to rise, and that could mean an expanded restriction zone by the weekend. Guys, back to you.
Janice, thank you. From that situation in China to the growing fear and anxiety right here in the U.S., health officials are now monitoring potential cases of the virus in multiple states. NBC's Gadi Schwartz joins us from Texas with that part of the story. Hey, Gadi, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Hoda. Good morning, Craig. This morning, the CDC has raised its travel advisory to Wuhan, China to its highest level, a warning level 3, discouraging all non-essential travel to that region. Meanwhile, here at Texas A&M, 1 student is being tested for that deadly disease.
This morning, growing concern over the coronavirus spreading to the U.S., this time at Texas A&M University, where a student is being tested for the deadly disease.
Fortunately, his symptoms are not severe, and he is doing well.
On Wednesday night, that student went to an emergency room in Bryan, Texas. Doctors say he fit the criteria to be tested, having recently traveled from Wuhan, China, where the illness originated.
This person had mild upper respiratory symptoms, cough, congestion, that type of thing.
Until his test results come back from the CDC, doctors won't know if this is a case of coronavirus or a false alarm. But in the meantime, the student is in isolation at home.
We've been in contact with the patient and continuing to monitor.
Authorities believe the student may have attended classes after returning from China, but say there is a low risk to the campus community. And so far, many students are not concerned.
I'm not worried about it. They're doing their best to keep us safe.
If it starts spreading, then I'll be worried about it, but right now, no.
While overnight, a student at another university, Tennessee Tech, also being tested for the virus. And in Los Angeles, a passenger arriving at LAX with flu-like symptoms was pulled off of a flight from Mexico City and is now being monitored. In Seattle, doctors are using this robot to treat a patient in isolation, the first confirmed case so far in the United States. Officials now trying to reach at least 43 people who may have had close contact with the patient. To further limit the spread, all incoming flights from Wuhan are being funneled to 5 major airports where passengers will be screened. Fear and precaution spreading as the coronavirus hits close to home.
And here at Texas A&M, they're expecting the results back from that test as early as tomorrow. Meanwhile, out in California, Alameda County officials say that they are also testing less than 10 patients there as well. Guys, back to you.
Gadi Schwartz for us there in Texas. Gadi, thank you. Joined now by NBC News medical correspondent Dr. John Torres. Dr. John, thanks so much for coming in. Scales increasing. The effort to contain it globally seems to be increasing as well. How worried should we be at this point?
I think at this point you should listen definitely to the news, listen to the health authorities, what they're saying, but don't be too terribly concerned about it, because putting it in perspective, there's one case we know about here in the United States, a lot of suspected cases, but what you're seeing here is you're seeing the word has got out to physicians. They're starting to look at everybody, and anybody that has any symptoms and they've been near this area, they're going to start testing for them. And so that's why you're seeing more and more of these cases. Things that 2 months ago would have slipped through and it was just a cold.
Yeah.
Now they're looking at maybe it could be coronavirus.
What's this going to look like going forward? Is it just a matter of time before we start to see more cases pop up around the United States?
Yeah, I think you're probably going to see a few more cases pop up here, only because that area is so heavily traveled. But if it follows SARS, what happened with SARS, which is the epidemic in 2002 and 3, which was a coronavirus, it cropped up very quick and then it died off all of a sudden. And so this hopefully follows the same type of situation.
China was criticized roundly for how it handled SARS, not doing enough, fast enough. What do you make of how they're handling it so far this time around?
And I think that's what you're seeing here. Yesterday, the World Health Organization had a press conference, and they actually pointed that out. They said China is doing a fantastic job of containing it, testing for it, and trying to get it under control. And there's so many people there that it's going to be hard to get under control, but hopefully they do very, very quickly.
What about the reports this morning that there's perhaps a vaccine that may be on the horizon, some drug companies working on something? If that does happen, how likely that we see it quickly?
So the drug companies are working on it. There's a few that are actually actively involved in that right now. And what they're saying and what experts here are saying is it's probably going to take a few months to get the vaccine and then a few more months to test it. So probably by the end of, another year or so before we actually get a vaccine. Again, with SARS, they came out with a vaccine, but by the time they got it out, the epidemic had already stopped. And so it might mimic the same thing here.
All right, Dr. John Torres, I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot over the next few days. Thank you, sir.